We're talking about alcohol. It is really important, I think, to talk honestly about this subject because there's lots of messaging around it. And I find sometimes it can feel really black or white, like some of the messaging we get around alcohol, meaning like, yes, it's healthy, no, it's not. And so I'm just here to say it's complicated. It's not like always a yes or no answer. It's a conversation to have. And so that's what I want to do today is just bring in the nuance, bring in some of the gray areas, talk about all of it. So we're going to talk about the science behind it. So what does the science say? What does the research say? We're going to talk about the nuance, like I said, the nuance in the middle, meaning how do you actually make this decision for yourself? That might be a yes, I am for sure going to include alcohol in my life. It might be a no, I'm for sure not. And it might be a, you know what, I'm kind of in the middle. And that's where a lot of people land is the middle. So let's talk about that middle ground. I'm Jessica Vallant. I'm a physical therapist, women's health expert, and Pilates teacher, and my goal is to help all women feel strong, safe, and secure in their bodies. In this podcast, I'll share expert advice, facts, amazing guests, stories, compassion, and hope to help you meet your body in all seasons of life. Hi, and welcome back to Meet Your Body. Today, we are talking about a subject I have actually wanted to talk about for such a long time, and we're finally doing it today. We're talking about alcohol. And you guys, that might sound like a really big topic to tackle. It is really important, I think, to talk honestly about this subject because there's lots of camps out there and there's lots of messaging around it. And I find sometimes it can feel really black or white, like some of the messaging we get around alcohol, meaning like, yes, it's healthy, no, it's not. Yes, you can, no, you can't, like that kind of thing. It can feel very black or white. And it can also sometimes feel very judgmental. I mean, that's the way I can feel, especially if it's that black or white camp of, no, you definitely can never, ever have alcohol. It is not a part of a healthy lifestyle. What are you thinking? Like sometimes we can get that kind of feeling of one side of the spectrum. But there's also another side of the spectrum of people who drink really, really regularly and it's really common. And if you are starting to make a choice not to drink, or if not drinking alcohol is a part of your lifestyle choice, you can feel judgment from that side of the spectrum also, right? That you can feel a little bit left out in social circles and even from friends that maybe you've had a drinking lifestyle with in the past and now you don't. So, like I said, there's kind of a lot of black or white. There's a lot of, there can feel like a lot of judgment out there. And so I'm just here to talk about all of that, to say it's complicated. It's a conversation. It's not like always a yes or no answer. It's a conversation to have. And so that's what I want to do today is just bring in the nuance, bring in some of the gray areas, talk about all of it. And we're going to kind of break it down into three different parts. We're going to talk about the science behind it. So what does the science say? What does the research say? What does the messaging say right now? We're going to talk about the nuance. Like I said, the nuance in the middle, meaning how do you actually make this decision for yourself? That might be a yes, I'm for sure going to include alcohol in my life. It might be a no, I'm for sure not. And it might be a, you know what, I'm kind of in the middle. Like, and that's where a lot of people land is the middle. So let's talk about that nuance. Let's talk about that middle ground. And then I'm going to share my own lifestyle right now, my own habits, my own choices, my own thoughts around alcohol and drinking. So that's what we're going to talk about today. But first, I want to say something that's just really important to me. This is completely personal. There are a lot of messages and a lot of verbiage out there around what people are calling sober curious, meaning, and there's a lot of books even, and a lot of things saying, "Oh, I'm sober curious." I am just telling you, I'm not going to use that language, and so just don't be surprised if you don't hear me say it. And it's because I have some very, very in-depth experience, very close experience with alcoholism in my life, which I'm sure many of you do as well. And with that, I also am very close to people in recovery who have worked diligently and so hard for years to call themselves sober. So when I think of the word sober, that is what I think of. I think of the people with alcoholism in their life, alcoholics, addicts working really, really hard, doing the honorable work of being sober for however much time, and putting in that work and the work that I know it takes. And so when I think of that word sober, that is who I keep that word for. So for me, when I think about, do I want to try not drinking for a few weeks, or what would it look like for me to decrease the amount of alcohol in my life? Like when I kind of have those questions or have those conversations, I'm just never going to use that word sober curious. But that's why, again, it's just a personal choice. And so, absolutely, if that is a part of your verbiage, no problem whatsoever. I'm just letting you know I won't use it here, because that, again, like I just said, that distinction is important to me because of my history and loved ones in my life who, again, I know have done the really, really hard work of being sober after a life of alcoholism, or with a life of alcoholism. So we're talking again about kind of the science, the choices when it is a choice for you, like to include alcohol, to not. What does that maybe look like? What does the research say? And then I'll tell you what I'm doing in my own life. So first, let's talk about the science. And that alone, like I've already said, this whole subject around alcohol can be complicated. The science alone is complicated. All right. It is not clear cut. So you might be like me. You might remember years ago, I mean, this is probably decades ago now, when the messaging came out, oh my gosh, red wine is good for you. Like, you absolutely can have a couple glasses of red wine a day, and maybe you should have a couple glasses of red wine a day to help with heart health, to help with brain health, to help with stroke, to help with cholesterol. I mean, I remember that. And it was probably around the time I was turning 21, actually, and like really learning about health and thinking, oh, I'll just choose red wine as my option. And I'm laughing just because, again, it was really nice thinking that it was a clear cut choice, but there's so much more nuance and so many more details around it. But yes, that messaging has been out there. So there are some research studies that on the surface have been marketed to say that they show that red wine particularly can help with cardiovascular health and cholesterol, those two things specifically. All right. Then we also now have a lot of messaging coming out telling us that there is no amount of alcohol that is safe and healthy. And the fact is, the World Health Organization has categorized alcohol as a group 1 carcinogen. Group 1 carcinogen means that there is a clear cause and effect of something causing cancer. That's not a correlation. It's not a coincidence. It is cause and effect. Okay, tobacco. Tobacco is labeled a group 1 carcinogen because tobacco smoke cause lung cancer, cause and effect. Alcohol is, again, I am going to say it because this is the fact of the matter, and the science of the matter states alcohol is a group 1 carcinogen, and the cancer it is most related to is breast cancer. So in 2019, they estimated that about 16% of all breast cancer cases were a direct cause of alcohol consumption. Again, I'm just telling you the facts. That's what I'm going to do this first part. No judgment for me. I'm telling you the facts. So we've got both of those things happening. Now, a couple things I want to say, because I always promise you that we are going to talk about the nuance of it and the little things that aren't always said. So first, let's talk about the carcinogen piece, because we cannot ignore that. And as someone personally with a history of breast cancer, I 100% cannot and won't ignore that. Also, I want to state that it is well known that within that, there are different risks, okay? Meaning, deli meat is listed as a group 1 carcinogen. I kid you not. I actually did not know that until I was researching this. It is listed as a group 1 carcinogen because of its relationship with colorectal cancer. I personally don't see any messaging out there telling me not to eat deli meat because it causes cancer. Yes, I know absolutely, like, we're not supposed to eat it when we're pregnant. There are some health aspects around it. Like, that is something I kind of know. But I didn't know at all it was listed as a group 1 carcinogen by the World Health Organization. So again, we're putting this all into perspective and just understanding that it doesn't assess level of risk. Okay. So have that in mind. So that's that side of it. Then let's go to the studies that you are probably thinking of. At least some of you might be, that I know I think of sometimes. Well, why are people then telling me that red wine is good for me if now I know it is a group 1 carcinogen and no amount of alcohol is healthy? Like, what is going on, right? And this is really common in research. So all I can tell you is what a lot of the experts will say is that, one, it is possible, if you look at all of the data out there, it is possible that there could be some beneficial health aspects or beneficial health effects from drinking certain types of alcohol. That is possible. That is what some experts will say. But this is what you need to know about many of these studies. They really don't take into account all of the lifestyle things that are happening, that could be happening in addition to those subjects also drinking 1 or 2 glasses of red wine. Meaning, do they also eat a Mediterranean anti-inflammatory diet? What's their stress level? Is it decreased stress? Is it high stress lifestyle? How are they consuming that? Are they consuming it on their own in isolation, or are they consuming it with a lot of laughter, with friends, with family? We can't say for sure that it was, for example, the red wine causing those health benefits versus the other lifestyle things that may be happening with those people who happen to also be drinking the red wine. Okay. So that's why I'm telling you it is complicated. I can't come on and say, oh, here is this entire body of research that shows it's good for you. I can't. And I don't think any expert could say that to you in good conscience. I also really want to point out, because again, I'm going to point out all the pieces of this. The alcohol industry is huge. It cannot even be measured. It cannot be measured in truth. The alcohol industry is so large. And so just understand that anytime you have an industry that big, you will be able to find some people who are going to talk about the benefits of it, simply because they are out there spending money making sure they find people who talk about the benefits. And again, I'm not saying that research isn't true. I'm just saying it's another piece to the puzzle. So if you want to find things that tell you that alcohol is healthy and good for you, you probably can Google that and find it. And if you want to find things that tell you alcohol is not healthy and good for you, you can definitely Google and find that. So that's why it's really important that you make choices for yourself, because we're not at a point that there are huge blanket statements being made. I will tell you from my own research, from my personal place right now, not even from a health expert coming at you, but just from me in my life, I am going with and pretty convinced that there's not a lot of health benefits of drinking alcohol. And there's definitely no health benefits that outweigh, and this might be the bigger piece. There's really no health benefits, and I'm just saying health, okay? Purely health benefits on your body. There are no benefits that outweigh the risk and the detriment of what alcohol can do on a cellular level to your body. Now, that does not mean I'm telling you not to drink. We're going to get to all of that and the choices that need to be made. I'm just telling you it's good to understand those things going into it. All right. So that's where kind of the data and the research and the science is around alcohol right now. Basically, that it's not super clear, except that again, it is labeled as a group 1 carcinogen, meaning that there is ample evidence to show that there's a cause and effect relationship between alcohol and cancer. All right. Okay. So let's get into the nuance around this. And to me, the nuance is how do you make this choice for yourself, whether to include alcohol in your life or not? And for some of you, this is a really easy choice. And I don't know if I'm necessarily talking to the people who this feels really easy. Okay, if it feels really easy for you to say, oh, I just don't have it, I just never have it. Again, that's awesome. And you probably don't need this podcast necessarily today because you already have that as a part of your lifestyle. And then there are people, maybe again on the complete opposite end of the spectrum, who think, you know what, I have a great relationship with alcohol. I know exactly how to use it in my life. I have gone through this journey already. I am good and super comfortable with my choices. That's awesome too. So awesome. This will just maybe be some added information for you. But today is really for everyone in between who finds themselves just wondering, so many different pieces of this. Okay, alcohol has been just such a constant part of my life in social situations. And how can I keep doing that, but maybe make some healthier choices around it? Or I find myself really, really out of habit grabbing alcohol every night, and I don't even know if I really like it anymore. So, where do I go with that? Or, you know what, I like to have alcohol in certain situations, but I have kind of a new health diagnosis, or I'm going into perimenopause and I really feel that I'm not handling my alcohol as well as I used to. How do I go about that? Or how do I simply include it in a healthy lifestyle because my bone density and my muscles and all of that's really important, and does alcohol still fit in? That is who this is for. And I really fit in, and I'm going to be honest, and I'll tell you my story at the end, but I have fit in and I do fit in to almost all of those categories in the middle that I just told you about. And so I've been there. So here's some ideas with that nuance of like, how do you start to make the choice for yourself if it doesn't feel necessarily really easy or really clear to you? So, one thing to keep in mind is the size of a drink, especially in our country. All right. Oh my gosh, we like our big pours and they just keep getting bigger and bigger. So, one thing to know about those studies that did show the possible positive health benefits from red wine: 5-ounce glasses of wine. That is what we say when people say one glass or a normal pour. It's 5 ounces. I want you to go, if you're not sure what that looks like, I want you to go after this podcast and just get out a measuring cup and pour out 5 ounces. And then ask yourself when the last time was that you actually had a glass of wine that was only 5 ounces. It is not very big. It's not at all. And so many times that is just one thing to keep in mind. If you think, oh, I'm within that health guideline they talk about, are you though? When they say have, one glass per day or 3 per week, that's what I'm doing. Well, what is your pour? And that's just a really important thing to know and understand. So what is the pour size? How much beer are you actually having? Are you drinking light beer? Are you drinking regular beer? Do you always turn to hard alcohol? Only you can know the answer to that. But it's just, that's an important piece of kind of that nuance and deciding, making a decision for yourself is what, just being really honest about how much you're having, maybe how much you want to have, like what's your goal? Does it fit into some of your health goals? But first, you have to know how much you're actually having. Like, what is the size of it? The next is to just look at the type of alcohol you're having. And again, this is just to be honest about it and to lay it out. Like, I'm not going to tell you one is healthier than the other, but they do have different properties. If you are looking at, if you really like your big fruity kind of mixes and drinks, just know that is going to land different in your body than having 1 ounce of tequila with water. They act differently. There's different amounts of sugar in them. Beer is going to be different than wine simply because of the gluten sometimes. I stopped drinking beer, I mean, 20 years ago, maybe, because my endometriosis system cannot handle it. I can't handle it at all. I just go bonkers. So that's some of that self-awareness is, again, what type are you having? Not for any reason other than knowing they are going to affect your body differently. So when you start to make some choices around including alcohol in your life or not including alcohol, and you really start to think about how you feel and what might be worth it or not, this is an important question of saying, okay, would I be okay? Like, again, let's say you love margaritas, which bless, oh my gosh, margaritas are delicious. All right. And I will say, I feel much different after a margarita from this one place that's my favorite place in the whole world. And it's so delicious. And it's just really plain with a salt rim versus another place that I've gone to and I've tasted their margarita and it's all sweet and sour and all sugar and it makes me feel so sick afterwards. And I'm just saying that because that's not necessarily a choice of yes, I'm having margaritas or no, I'm never having them again. That's the nuance piece. Like having it from my favorite Denver place that has the best margarita in the world, having one there, my body does well. It is worth it to me. Oh my gosh, I can taste it right now because I really like them so much. Versus honestly, margaritas just about anywhere else, I won't bother because I don't feel good afterwards whatsoever. So it doesn't have to be a full on yes or a full on no. It doesn't have to be all or nothing. There can be nuance in the middle if you want there to be, but some of it is going to include, again, the size and then also what it is that you're drinking. Okay. Another nuance, another piece to consider is the time of day, actually. And this I'm just going to talk about from a nighttime perspective. If you are going to have something, but you have noticed that, because it's true, alcohol will 100% affect your sleep. It will. Alcohol, many components, it is a depressive, so it will bring us down. It does affect sleep, absolutely. And so you would be better off having your small glass either right before you eat, like maybe while you're cooking, or with dinner, than having it after or having a nightcap, which will definitely affect your sleep, which can then affect your stress levels and affect many things, especially as we get older. So that's a piece to consider a little bit. Another big piece of this nuance question is as you're questioning or asking yourself how or if you include alcohol in your life, is your health history. I have a history of breast cancer. And after my mastectomy and my lymph nodes were cleared, and after I had my first meeting after my surgery with my oncologist, and I was getting a lot of my follow up information, I asked her, "Can I drink again? Like, what are your thoughts on alcohol having a history of breast cancer?" And she said that she was completely comfortable telling me that I could have 3 to 5 drinks per week. That was her answer. I just remember it very clearly. 3 to 5 drinks per week. Okay. Thank you. I had a guideline. Like that guideline really helped me for that first year. And then now as I continue to go forward, again, it's not an all or nothing and it's not a etched in stone. It was a guideline for my health history. We are all going to be a little different around that, but just keep that in mind. Do you have a history of cancer? Do you take medications that could be affected by alcohol? Do you have autoimmune issues or autoimmune diseases that could be affected by how our energy changes when we drink alcohol? All of those kind of things are something to ask yourself and to be really honest about. A big question, I think this might be one of the biggest, is how are you using it? And this is, believe me, I have been there and asked myself these questions too. That's why I'm saying there's no judgment whatsoever today. How are you using it? And only you know that. Do you find yourself using it out of habit? Like, is it just complete habit to pour a glass of wine while you're cooking dinner at night? Is it complete habit to pour a beer when that football game comes on, or on a beautiful Sunday afternoon when the sun's out? What are your habits around it? And are you actually doing it purely out of habit without questioning if you still really want it or really like it in that moment? Are you using it to numb? And that's, again, it's just an important question to ask yourself. Do you use it out of habit, or are you using it to numb how you're feeling? If you've had a really busy day as a new mom, if you've had a really bad day as a caretaker, if it was a bad day at work with that bad meeting, did you find yourself, doom scrolling all afternoon? So are you using it to numb? Do you use it to fit in? Like in social situations, do you just automatically want and need that glass in your hand because it makes you feel more comfortable, more at ease in the situation? Or are you using it because you love how it brings you together with other people? Do you love going out? Like, do you have themed dinners with some of your favorite friends? And part of it is a wine pairing, and you love the idea of laughing with your friends and talking about memories of, you know, special meals you've had and pairing certain wines with that. There's lots of different ways you could use it. And honestly, it could change day to day. You might use it in all those capacities that I just mentioned. But that is a really, really important piece, I believe, in asking yourself if and how you want to use alcohol in your life. And then the final kind of nuance piece I want to bring up is, could you stop if you wanted to? And I've just asked myself that periodically throughout my journey with wellness, throughout my journey with alcohol, with eating, with all of it. I mean, I've even asked myself that about coffee. Okay. I just check in. Could I stop that if I wanted to? That's just something that's eye opening, I believe. It's an eye opening piece to how you might want to make decisions going forward for yourself. So let me tell you about me and how you can just see kind of real life example of how this might fit in, how the nuance comes into play. And we all have different histories with alcohol, and that's an important piece too. And I should tack that on to the nuance part, is what is your either cultural or family or societal kind of history um, and narrative with alcohol, because that will have an effect on all of this as well. So for me, growing up, alcohol wasn't a big part of our household or our life, except around really good memories. Like for me, when I think of my parents having drinks, it was always really good memories. So I remember specifically, they would have family friends over in the summer, kids and parents over. And I remember the cooler was just full of drinks for the kids. And my parents would make gin and tonics. And like, I just remember that clearly. And it just to me was a sign of, summer and everybody having fun together. And my parents didn't see friends a lot. And so it was always a happy time for me when they did, like seeing them social and seeing them laugh. It was a really happy time for me. So like that's a specific memory I have. And then as I got a little older, my dad started getting more into wine. He liked wine, but it was always talking about the wine and where it came from and smelling the wine and like the entire experience around it. So as I turned 21 and started to go through my early 20s, that's what alcohol was to me, an experience. It was an experience, and it was something that could be a part of a really not just fun, but like rewarding social experience. It was a way to bring people together. Like, so I consider my history with alcohol from that very good place. And so through my 20s, that's really what it was. And of course, I did crazy things in my early 20s, as we do. If I did not drink through high school or anything. So early 20s, yeah, I made some bad choices around alcohol. That's what many of us do. But it didn't stick with me. It was not a part of my normal behavior. I actually didn't drink all that much, but I ended up really loving the experience of wine. I have been to Napa, I believe, 5 times. I can't even keep count, all before we had kids. So this was all through my 20s and early 30s. I planned the trips each time. I mean, I can't even tell you how much joy it brought me planning these trips and pairing the food with the wine and learning about how it was made. And it was just always joyful to me, very joyful. And then I would love to go out with friends. And in Hawaii, it was much my favorite thing to go to the beach at night and someone would open a bottle of wine and we would all have some wine and laugh. And so that's how it was in my life. So it was just a regular part of my life without feeling like it was a huge need per se, if that makes sense. And then I guess for me what I kind of remember is things changing a little bit in 2020, how it did for many of us. And just to be really honest, it just did. I have no judgment on myself, but it did. And I remember, and I don't think I noticed at the time, but I do remember now looking back, I can say that was a time that both my husband and I got into a habit of pouring something at home every night. Before that, we would definitely have a glass at night. Not every night, but many nights we'd have a glass of wine or he'd have a beer. But it wasn't something I thought about quite as much. And then in 2020, like I really remember it became much more a part of our normal lifestyle is 5 o'clock would come and we would pour something. We would pour a glass of wine. He would have a beer, something like that. And that's when I remember it becoming every night. And I never had more than a glass and a half. Like that was probably about my cap, but it was definitely every night. And it definitely was a multitude of things, right? Hard day. I mean, young kids suddenly home from school. The news was hard, work was hard, life was so different, isolating. So, like, it wasn't a part of that engaging, fun, social, mental place anymore. It was, oh my gosh, like it's 5 o'clock. Yeah, pour me a glass of wine, please. That's really, to be honest, that's what it was. And I didn't think a lot of it simply because I wasn't having a lot. I didn't feel like it affected me all that much. But I can look back and say that's when that habit started to change. And so, probably a few years after that, when we were getting out of that lifestyle and that place, I realized, wow, that's a habit that I've brought with me. But we're out of that place now. Like we're out of that time, but that habit has followed. And so I just remember starting to ask myself, does that habit still serve me? And granted, not that it did during that time, right? I mean, it didn't fix anything. But I kind of more started to ask myself, is this just a habit I'm just doing out of habit? Do I still enjoy it? Like, do I still like it? Is it serving me? I just remember starting to kind of ask those questions. And I really asked the question of, can I not have it every night? When I asked, up in the nuance, like, could I stop if I wanted to? I remember that's what I was asking myself. Okay, can I not pour something 2 nights out of the week? And gosh, that sounds bad saying it, but really when something's a habit, that was really just more my question of, okay, I just want to know that I can a couple nights a week not automatically pour one glass of wine while I'm cooking dinner. So that's what I focused on, kind of in that middle ground. Like I said, it was probably around 2022. I bet it was 2022 to 2023, those 2 years. It was just more a swirling awareness in my mind of, I want to be more aware of it. That's what it was. I wanted to be more aware of my consumption. I wanted to feel like I could say no and have a night of cooking without feeling like I had a half glass of wine next to me. That's what it was. And then I was diagnosed with breast cancer. So, I mean, gosh, I stopped everything altogether. I mean, just life stopped for a while. So, I didn't drink anything for a while, as you do. I mean, and throughout all this, honestly, whenever I've had my surgeries, I always stop for weeks ahead of time. I don't drink for a month or two after. So that's common. So I've always had breaks along the way with all of my health things. Obviously, pregnancy, obviously, IVF, all of that. Um, so I was diagnosed with breast cancer. I had my mastectomy. I stopped altogether, and then I really said, I'm going to. I really want to follow the oncologist's advice. It's going to be 3 to 5 a week. Like that's what it will be. But I found myself doing it simply because she said to do it, right? Like I was following that, which, yes, okay, doable. And also, I just still had this awareness of if she hadn't have said that, I would still just be having something every night. And I just wanted to know, not necessarily why, but I just felt like at this point it really was something about habit or something about a crutch that I was using. That was just my awareness around it. Because also, and to me, it felt really like I had that surgery and things changed, but it probably was more because I was going through perimenopause. Everything was changing for me. I had a mastectomy. I was trying to heal. I had 2 surgeries within 12 months, going through perimenopause, hormone changes. So my endometriosis was kicking in. It was very clear to me. It was unmistakable that alcohol was not making me feel good. And that I would feel pretty bad no matter what I drink, is what I found. And I very often would pour half a glass and taste it and dump it. I'm like, wow, my taste buds. I remember saying that to my husband. My taste buds have changed because everything tastes bad. Every wine you pour now just tastes bad to me. It just doesn't taste good. So that was a part of it. And also, like I said, it was very clear that I just physically didn't feel good. My body couldn't handle it as well as I used to. And I know this is so common, but my body couldn't handle it as well. My mind couldn't. I felt really foggy very quickly. So I just made a much more conscious decision, probably around 2024, towards the end of 2024. I made a conscious decision and talked to my husband about it. I said, I want to drink less. And he said, yeah, me too. And again, I want to point out for me, that was having like, maybe 5 glasses in a week or even a half glass because it was becoming less and less. It was more, I think I want the having something to be less common than the not, right? Like I want the having a drink to be the exception to the rule. Like that's where I am because I just don't feel good anymore. It is not serving me actually in any way, shape, or form. Because before it was still at least serving me, like I had told you, that idea of bringing people together and laughter. And it really was still a part of that for me, like almost culture and society, community. And then it kind of went through that change a little bit during 2020 and 2021. And it just never full circled its way back to that. And instead started to really not be a part of my personal health goals anymore, which is I just want to feel good, y'all. Like that's what I want. I'm 47 years old. I'm almost 48. I want my sleep to be good. I want to wake up with a clear mind. And not that I ever didn't. I was not at all drinking to any kind of intoxication, but even just a little bit now, and I feel a little like just kind of out of it. I didn't like any of that. I didn't like how it made my muscles feel. And then a really interesting one I've noticed in the last couple months is my mood. It definitely has become a depressive for me. I will wake up the next morning, even just having 1 glass. I can sometimes wake up the next morning and just feel really down. And I have found that correlation. And that's just not necessarily worth it to me. It's just not. And so this has been, like I said, really over the past 18 months or so. So where am I now? So now I still love the idea of it. And I'll be 100% honest. If I am out with friends, we were invited out to a happy hour with our 2 very best friends recently. And it was a celebration. We were celebrating something just for a quick hour and a half, the 4 of us. And we each got a glass of champagne. And I was more than happy to have that glass of champagne. And that made my heart happy. Like the whole ritual of it, being with them, It tasted delicious. And then the nuance piece, I had one glass and I'm more than happy to stop after that. It was like one of two things that I had that week. I had it right before dinner, so plenty of time for it to get out of my system. So I woke up feeling 100% great. I went to bed feeling 100% great. So that's the nuance of it. Okay. I told you about margaritas, so I'm going to give you another example. Halloween. Halloween night, we go down and still see friends and families from our old neighborhood. It's just part of our tradition. And our amazing host makes the most amazing paloma that I've ever had in my life. It's so delicious. And so for like 2 weeks, I was looking forward to it. And we went down for Halloween and she asked if I wanted one. I'm like, yes, I've been waiting almost a year since last Halloween to have one of your palomas. We laughed. We all cheered with one. It gets part of my social connection with her and also tasted delicious. So I have found that I can include it in those times and still feel really good. And it absolutely still meets my goals because my goals aren't just strict health, absolute yes or no kind of things, right? Like it's not always black and white. And so cutting out alcohol completely doesn't feel right now, like necessarily the choice that I want to make. But I'm not saying it won't in the future. It might. I don't know. I'm letting that guide me. I'm letting my body and how I feel guide me. But I don't feel that right now. There's still situations that it serves me, body, mind, and soul. It serves community. It nourishes me. There's still ways that it does that. We have an amazing bottle of wine waiting in our house for the right moment. Like we have something in mind that when it happens, we are opening that and we're celebrating, and I'm going to love it. And I can't wait. And also, I feel really good and comfortable saying no most nights. If it's a normal night at home, if it's after kids' activities, I am not at a point that I say yes anymore to that. And a big part has been a mindset shift for me, and that's what's helped. So if you're at the point that you're saying, oh my gosh, I still really want it, but it's just really hard to say no, but I feel like I need to say no. Like I understand that too. I understand the back and forth of it. Absolutely. But I will say for me, like changing my actions first before I even felt mentally like ready to even let go of that crutch a little bit before I even felt mentally ready to do that, just by changing my actions a couple nights a week, that more easily became 3 nights a week, which more easily became 4 nights a week. Whereas now I don't think about it much. Like if it comes up that I am making dinner, or if we suddenly say, let's go out last minute, or again, like our friends wanting to celebrate something with us that was really last minute, I was more than happy to have that glass of champagne. But I had no plans to have anything. I didn't expect to. My expectations of it, my ideas around what dinner at home looks like completely has changed. And I do physically feel better for it. I just do. And so that's kind of my story around it is like I said, I am never going to be the one here telling you what to do for yourself. I am never going to be the one here judging you whatsoever for it. I do think it can be a journey, and I absolutely do believe for myself in this phase of life that the less alcohol I have, the better. And it really comes down, I think, also to that nourish place. And it was one of the best. I was actually going through a women's health certificate a few years ago. And we were talking about this idea of the science behind alcohol, whether you include it, whether you don't, whether you recommend it for people. And it really was one of the best kind of problem solving pieces I heard someone mention. Is she used that word nourish that we talk about a lot here. So just imagine how you're using it. So imagine these two scenarios that, yeah, you come home from a really hard, busy day at work and you've been sitting in traffic and you just rush in the door and you don't even have time to really say hi to anyone or sit down. You just first thing you grab is the glass and that bottle of wine, and you just pour yourself like at least, halfway up, like obviously much more than the 5 ounces, right? You're just pouring it as high as you can and you down it as fast as you can. That's one way to use it. Then imagine you get home from that same hard day at work, traffic. You're able to take your stuff off. You hang up your bag. You change into whatever, a pair of tennis shoes. You walk outside for 10 minutes, or you tell your kids, hey, do you want to just come out? Come on a walk with me really quick. Tell me about your day. I need to get outside. I had a hard day. Let's chat. You come back in. Maybe at that point you have a few friends that come over, or maybe you are going to cook your most, like, a meal that you absolutely love, and you're going to use cooking as kind of a way to unwind. And then at that point, it's been an hour and you say, you know what? I really love to have this really nice, crisp glass of white wine with this meal. I'm going to pour it into a smaller glass. I'm going to have 5 ounces. And I'm going to drink it while I take some deep breaths while I'm cooking, while my kids are doing their homework at the counter. Like, those are 2 different ways to incorporate it into your life. And I know it might seem simplistic, but for me, it helped because I can literally close my eyes and picture it. And I can make decisions for myself going forward with that idea alone. Like, am I using this to nourish me? Does it fit in with these other things that I'm doing? And it's just a bonus and this extra piece to this nourishment puzzle. Or am I thinking of bigger fight or flight and just using it to numb really quick, but I'm not going to feel better afterwards? Am I using it for that? That helped me a lot. And it doesn't have to be, I don't think, like a huge decision going forward. I don't think you have to know today, okay, I'm going to do exactly 4 glasses a week and I'm going to do this. Like, I don't think you have to know that. That's great if you're a planner and that helps you. But you can also just think of it as just today. Like, just use that scenario. Ask yourself the question, just today, how am I using it? How does it honestly make me feel? What's a choice that I can make today that is best for me today? And then tomorrow, make another choice. What is the best for you today on that day? And then you can move forward from there. So I hope that helped just give you some things to think about. And just know it's a choice that only you can make for yourself. And you are allowed to change it. And don't let anyone else make you feel bad for the choice that you want or need to make for yourself in any given season of life. All right. Thanks for being here as always. Talk to you soon. Thanks so much for listening today. I would love it if you could take a moment to subscribe, rate, and review this podcast. It means a lot to us and it helps our content get out to more women who need it. You can find more of my resources at my website, jessicavallant.com, or find me on YouTube at Jessica Vallant and Instagram at Jessica S. Vallant.